Good Wednesday morning, everyone, and happy Black History Month. Welcome to the State of Illinois' first statewide Black History Month regional tour, where we are recognizing, highlighting, and emphasizing the many accolades and accomplishments of African Americans throughout the entire state. My name is Markel Tolliver, and I am with the State of Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, or DCEO for short. I'm a member of DCEO's Office of Economic Equity and Empowerment, or OE3. In my statewide role as the Black African American Business Development Manager, I support Black-owned businesses, which makes up about 11% of all businesses within the state of Illinois. I also support veteran-owned businesses, youth businesses, and businesses owned by people with disabilities. Through targeted programs, resources, and outreach promotional activities, OE3 aims to create an inclusive business ecosystem for communities that have traditionally faced systematic barriers to entry and growth. This investment spurs local economic development in underrepresented areas, resulting in a revitalized and thriving Illinois economy. We are honored to have the Springfield Project as our event collaborators for our second stop on the regional tour. The Springfield Project was founded in 1996, and their mission is to unite Springfield, Illinois as a community by working to improve the quality of life for all throughout its neighborhoods. During today's webinar, please feel free to add your questions during the presentation or at the end during our Q&A session. Today's presenter is none other than the CEO of the Springfield Project. Dominic E. Watson is a visionary community leader and former labor lobbyist with 20 years of entrepreneurial and management experience, dedicated to advancing economic opportunity across Greater Springfield and Illinois. He serves as the president and CEO of the Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce and the Springfield Project Community Development Corporation, leading strategic initiatives focused on small business growth, workforce development, and equitable community revitalization. In 2022, he founded 1908 Innovation and Co-working Center, a transformative center supporting entrepreneurship, digital access, and youth empowerment on Springfield's East Side. Dominic studied business administration with a concentration in organizational behavior at Illinois State University and Benedictine University, Springfield. A proud member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, he is deeply committed to service and leadership while focusing on all things community. Above all, Dominic considers his greatest accomplishment to be his role as a devoted husband and father of six. Without further ado, I would like to turn it over and welcome Dominic Watson.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome. This is super exciting for us at the Springfield Project. We are increasingly enthusiastic about being able to share our accomplishments and all the things that we're able to do here in Springfield, and not just for Springfield or the Springfield area, but for Illinois as a whole. And so, Markel, let me first say thank you for the opportunity for us to come together and talk about the work that we're doing. It's not taken lightly, the work that you're doing on behalf of the OE3 office and DCEO, and hats off to you. Again, it's Black History Month, and I'm a firm believer that we should not only celebrate during Black History Month, but all year round, the Black experience and all the things that come with our experience. And so I'll be really giving a kind of a high level overview of what we've been able to accomplish, some of my inspirations on my journey, some of our accomplishments, and then we'll close with Q&A. And Q&A, I'm very excited about. If you have any questions, feel free to take note, put them in the chat, or whatever other vehicle you have to communicate. So I'll be starting with, and again, this is one of my favorite pictures that we have here with with our youth who have been able to go through our program. I think this was probably our second cohort with our youth that we were able to roll out to the community. And this is just a snapshot of how enthusiastic and some of the youth that we experienced over the course of the work that we've been doing. So again, this is one of my favorite pictures. It's featured. The mural is featured right on the side of our building, on the west side of our building. And if you're familiar with Springfield, you've probably seen this mural a time or two. So about myself, and you should note here during the bio that Markel actually so eloquently delivered to you all, telling my background. One of the things he noted was all things community, and so I have been someone who has very much so adopted this model for myself, all things community, and I'm so excited that God has put me on this earth to do just that, provide all things community and observe all things community on a daily basis. And during this journey that started with just an idea and God placing something in my heart, probably it was, I believe in 2017, I was having conversations with community leaders and others in the area that were from outside of our community about the need to support minority business owners in a greater way. And what started off as a conversation about partnering to provide outreach to an incubator and accelerator that operated in downtown Springfield grew into more of a comprehensive plan to deliver not just incubation and acceleration services to the community, but also meeting the community where they are in a trauma-informed way, identifying, listening to them, and identifying where they want it to go, and then helping them get there, walking alongside them, not walking in front of them or walking behind them, but walking alongside them, not planning for them, but planning with them. And so that conversation started in 2017. And if anyone knows Springfield or has been frequented Springfield in the past, you know that there's a dividing line. We have a rail relocation project that is on the tail end of being completed here in town, and we felt as members of Black community and Black stakeholders, we felt that it would deepen the divide in the community, and we should shift and start advocating for more resources and more opportunity again for the underrepresented parts of Springfield. And early on, I'll be honest with you, I struggled to try to figure out what vehicle that I could use to establish this innovation hub, right? This social innovation hub. We toyed with the idea of establishing our own community development corporation under the Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce. At the time, I was the president and CEO. I still am to this day. And we were trying to figure out, as Dominic Watson, do I take on the developer role and use my own personal sweat equity to get it done? What does this look like? And so during those conversations, we transitioned into kind of building a little bit of momentum, and then the pandemic happened. And if we remember, it's been nearly 6 years ago now. The world kind of stood still, and we were able to sit at, most of us were able to, and unfortunately, sit at home and kind of watch the world and what we thought the world would look like, during this pandemic. And so I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to start receiving calls about what can we do? What can we do to help? And so my mentor at the time was retiring, and he was fortunate enough to have built this legacy with this organization called the Springfield Project. And at the time, I had served on the board for a couple years, and he was on his way out and retiring. He said, and this is so important, right? To talk to people who believe in your dreams and who are invested enough to help you get to where you want to go. So having a conversation with him, he said, "Hey, Dominic, I am actually going to, if I don't hand over this organization to somebody, I'm just going to shut it down. I'm ready to retire, ready to move away, take care of my mom, etc." And so he handed over this organization that had operated as a community development corporation for the past 24 years. For the past 24 years, a community development corporation. And so God blessed enough for us to, through the work that we had already done in messaging and trying to grow this organization, I'm sorry, trying to grow this idea and try to figure out what organization that we need to establish to get it to the starting point that we can deliver quality opportunity to the community. We're blessed with a vehicle to now carry out that mission. So it was the summer of 2020 where things really came together for us. And then ultimately, we had identified a busy corridor on Springfield's east side, which is the Springfield. If you're not familiar with Springfield, the east side is our hood, right? Our hood, for lack of a better description, is underrepresented, it's under resourced, it's undervalued, but it's one of the most I would say culturally rich, long-term homeowners, but just very much so historically disinvested in. And so, the city leadership at the time and still to this present day, we're trying to figure out really how to leverage and deliver resources to community, but they really didn't, in my opinion, really understand how. And so we identified this intersection at the corner of 11th and South Grand here in town, and we were able to receive the initial seed money through a city grant to purchase the building, and then ultimately we're able to open our doors. And so we opened our doors in December of 2022. And so you'll notice we just hit our 3-year anniversary last December, and we hit the ground running. We hit the ground running, and so during that time, and having a little bit of tech issues. Okay, so during that time, I really had to understand, as we were opening and as we were scaling and delivering this new opportunity to community that was Community Access Project 1908, I really had to understand what the mission of TSP was. And like Markel mentioned earlier, we are a non-for-profit organization. We're self-identified as a community development corporation. We were founded in 1996. And so that's important because in 1996, Springfield was still at a kind of a turning point. There were some opportunities where individuals were increasingly interested in economic development as it relates to the East Side. And so a group of about 40 concerned community members went down to Atlanta, Georgia, and they wanted to tour the Atlanta Project, which was an initiative formed by President Carter to essentially get the Olympics into Atlanta. And again, the 1996 Olympics were delivered. This delegation across all types of sectors in Springfield went down, and then they brought back that concept and that idea to start the Springfield Project right here in our community. And again, we're a community development corporation. So in order to know where you're going, you have to know where you come from, right? And so I had to dive in really in trying to figure out how to elevate the mission of the Springfield Project while at the same time delivering this new concept to the community. So our mission, which was highlighted earlier, to support collaborative community problem solving that leads to the holistic revitalization of under-resourced Springfield neighborhoods. And how do we do that? It was mentioned earlier, we unite Springfield as a community by working to improve quality of life throughout its neighborhoods. And so I like to simplify this mission and this vision by saying we want to build an ecosystem of effective solutions to address the social economic challenges that exist in Springfield. Simply put, we want to build an ecosystem of effective solutions to address a lot of the social economic challenges that exist in Springfield. And I think this is so important because oftentimes we see that it's easier to point out the challenges that exist in the community. And it's harder to come up with solutions to those challenges or to leverage resources to address those solutions. So our goal is to do just that. And so the ecosystem looks like working with other partners and bringing resources centrally located to Springfield on Springfield's east side. They are traditionally catering to or targeting low to moderate income under resourced individuals on the east side, but aren't located on the east side. And here are a few of our commitments. We wanted to, during our strategic planning exercise that we had done by Change Bridge, which is a consulting organization that we work with, we wanted to identify what our plan was going to be for the community for years to come. And so during this strategic planning exercise in 2024 and 2025, we decided that we were going to outline our commitments to the community. So here are a few all of our commitments represented. I would just breeze through them really quickly here. We commit to focusing on under-resourced and underserved neighborhoods, centering the needs and desires of low income and monitorized residents. Also, we commit to empowering residents to identify opportunities and solutions within our neighborhoods. We commit to supporting solutions that serve physical, social, economic, and environmental needs of identified neighborhoods. We committed to encouraging unity, camaraderie, and mutual respect across all Springfield neighborhoods. We committed to maintaining a board structure that is reflective of the neighborhood it serves, and we also committed to collaborating with diverse groups and people across a variety of sectors and organizations throughout the community. And it's so important. Again, we want to not only do the work, but we wanted to illustrate to people how we're going to do the work. We want to get that buy-in on the front end. That way, when we started talking about talking to the community about the work that we were doing and how we were recruiting for various opportunities within our organization, we wanted individuals to already understand how we were committed to the community and what we were doing. So this is one of the things this is our family of organizations and programming structure. And early on, we identified the fact that we can't do it all alone, right? We had these organizations. I told you I oversaw the Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce, and I wasn't trying to allow that to go by the wayside, right? So I want to take on leadership of both the Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce and continue the leadership there, and then also take over this the Springfield project, which was the Community Development Corporation. And then there was a third non-for-profit that came alongside the Springfield project, which was called the TSP Hope. And it was a former Community Housing Development Authority that we were looking to convert to a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. So my umbrella of leadership includes these three organizations: the Springfield Project, which is community development; TSP Hope, which is, again, our future CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, a former community housing development organization; and then our business development arm, which is the Black Chamber of Commerce here in Springfield. And so all have separate 501c3s, separate boards, and separate functions. And this is kind of illustrated here. So a lot of the development work that we're doing right now, is housed under the Springfield Black Chamber, or I'm sorry, the Springfield Project. We also have health programming, neighborhood association initiatives, and then we have a micro lending program that sits under the Springfield Project. Under TSP Hope, we hope to again convert that to a future CDFI, and then that'll then house our micro lending program that's currently being rolled out under the Springfield Project. And then we'll also do some home ownership programs. And then the Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce has housed traditionally a lot of our programming specific to minority businesses, and then also our Black Business Directory. So one of the things that, again, I led with was we had to develop this comprehensive plan or strategy to deliver to the community that that essentially allow us to build this social innovation hub. And so we came up with this idea or concept called Community Access Project, CAP for short. And again, that was a comprehensive social innovation concept or hub that delivered a lot of what we're going to talk about here in a second. We also have other redevelopment projects, Southtown Forward, which is a comprehensive redevelopment plan for the neighborhood that sits adjacent to our corridor. We own a redevelopment project that's historic in nature. It's a Black historic site called the Ambidexter Institute, and it was actually supposed to be the Tuskegee of the North before it closed in 1908, which was the actual year of our race riots. And then we also have other health and wellness series, and again telehealth, digital equity, and other programs related to the work that we're doing here. So one of the early conversations we had, and I remember just bringing a group of stakeholders, probably about 20 stakeholders to the table. And this was before we even opened. We were just looking at the site. And at the time, I hadn't taken over the Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce or the Springfield Project. And I brought this group of stakeholders to the table, and I was super excited. Right, we had this group that was a guest called Chicago Neighborhood Initiative out of Pullman, and we were trying to essentially build a pipeline to do the work that they're doing, but right here in Springfield. And I remember bringing a group of 20 stakeholders together. I was so enthused. I was so excited because this is the first meeting. I was telling them all the things that we wanted to do, all the resources we had to do this, and it really fell flat. It really fell flat. And just so happened, one of the individuals in the room who was actually not from our community but understood the opportunity that we had, and he said something very important to me. He said to me, Dominic, you just have to do something. You have to do something. And at the time, I was very enthused and very focused on, well, let's do this comprehensive redevelopment plan, and it's only going to be $8 million, and that's a drop in the bucket compared to what the traditional investments are outside of our community. And so for me, that message that he delivered in that moment where I felt defeated gave me all the fuel I needed to keep going. So what we did is we had identified again this community access plan, which was comprehensive $8 million project across 3 different sites. What we had to do is break it into phases. So we broke it into phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And so under phase 1, we received, but again, I talked about the funding that we received under phase 1 to open our doors. And so we're housed in phase 1, the Springfield Project, the Springfield Black Chamber of Commerce, and we opened our doors again December of 2022. And so the name of the project initially was Community Access Project 1908. And then we opened, as a result of that, 1908 Innovation and Co-working Center. 1908 Innovation and Co-working Center. And initially, there was a lot of pressure from local government and local stakeholders to open an incubator or accelerator for exclusively for minority businesses or underrepresented Springfield. And we felt it would be better to focus again on the social innovation component of delivering services to the community, meeting people where they are in a trauma-informed way. And also, we wanted the flexibility to expand our programming outside of just entrepreneurship into professional development and all those things, and really assessing the community and delivering the resources that the community needs. And so we rolled out almost immediately within the first couple months a membership program, a office space. We've had we built, I believe, 2 offices we built, and then we also had additional office space, and we immediately worked with entrepreneurs who were looking for space and permanently leased those out. We've put together seasonal annual events. We brought in partner workshops. So we worked with a number of partners, including the SBDC of Central Illinois, LaShonda Fitch, who's our community partner, as well as Kevin Lust and his team have been instrumental in that partnership around business development. And so individuals who are located in our community now have access to SBDC in a more intentional way, where they can go on their side of town to access the services as opposed to going elsewhere. We developed a Junior Biz Academy, which is our youth entrepreneurship academy. And again, that picture that you saw earlier is actually one of the groups that were featured. We've expanded our summer youth employment program. We also developed a incubator cohort called Business Success Institute, where we brought on a retired business professor with 30 plus years of experience teaching every business course that you can think of in under a business department in both community college and university settings. We also developed a career and college readiness program called CAP Forward, and that was really developed because the feedback that we heard from a lot of our youth was, well, we aren't necessarily looking at college, but we want to make money. We want to, we want opportunity for employment. So we again developed these 2 tracks of college and career readiness for CAP Forward. And again, we expanded on our commitment to delivering quality programming to the community alongside the community, not planning for them, but planning with them. And then here, this is one of my second favorite pictures. This is the west side of our building, and it's actually facing southeast. And this was a mural that was done on our building by a national artist who's done work all across the country for some of the most respected voices in our culture. And this was done through a partnership with the Springfield Art Association, as well as the National Endowment for the Arts. And as you can see, this kind of brings attention to past, present, future, or symbolism. And depicted there is the Sankofa bird, which is that symbol of past, present, future. And you can see CAP 1908 is featured on the building. And then the motto there is "Together We Rise." So that's, again, fitting representation of what we were trying to accomplish and what we're still accomplishing here in Springfield. So if I can take you through specifically what we're doing, and then kind of the how to. So as I noted, Community Access Project 1908 is a social innovation hub. And again, that ecosystem of effective solutions is what we're trying to deliver to the community. And that takes the shape of addressing social and economic issues that exist in our community, right here on the east side. And again, the social innovation isn't a new practice, but again, it aims at meeting the social needs in a better way, and then creating solutions for individuals. And I'm sure all of you have heard about social innovation. It's really been driven home as of late about trying to address the issues taking place in our community. So I talked to you about the various phases. We had this three-phase approach initially about delivering our resources to community after having this comprehensive redevelopment plan. So phase one was our 1908 Innovation and Co-working Center right here at the corner. We were able to deliver quality programming to the under-resourced and underrepresented Springfield. We also are transitioning into phase two, and we're fortunate enough to be funded 100% for that project, which is the Madison Collective. We purchased a building that is connected onto our building. It was an old furniture store with about 30,000 square feet of development opportunity. That is going to house, again, we're expanding and building up on our commitment to the community. There are a lot of cottage kitchen entrepreneurs who are cooking out of their home, but trying to scale and monetize that in a very constricted way. Our goal is to open this culinary incubator and shared kitchen space. That way, those culinary entrepreneurs can now transition out of their home and actually go into a shared commercial kitchen space and then be a part of a cohort-driven incubator program. That way, we can scale them and then allow them to for opportunities to again scale their business, whether it be a food truck, a catering company, or just a brick and mortar. We want to be the vehicle to allow them to grow, or to help them grow. And so we're 100% funded for the construction of the incubator, the culinary incubator, as well as the shared kitchen space through two individual grants, close to $4 million of investment. Well, three grants for almost $4 million of investment. One was by actually DCO Rebuild Downtown and Main Streets grant, just shy of $2 million of investment, and also a community project funding grant through Congresswoman Nikki Bazinski's office, and that was just shy of 1.7 million. And then the city came to the table and awarded us $500,000 for acquisition and other consulting services tied to TIF dollars. And so we're in the process of doing the early work in establishing that project, and we're almost to a point where we can kind of start accepting bid responses for the work to be done. So we're super excited about that, and this is a huge opportunity for those culinary entrepreneurs. And I should note that not only will this feature a culinary incubator and shared kitchen space, but it'll also feature a coffee shop that we are trying to work with a minority or Black coffee shop entrepreneur who is looking to locate or establish a coffee shop here in Springfield, with some ideas around elevating culture, the Black culture, and then coffee. And then also we're going to build a small maker space where there'll be podcast studios. There will be other maker space. You'll be able to film your commercial. You'll be able to host a small event on site, and then there'll be motion capture, 3D printing, and other services specific to makerspace. And I'm super excited about that. I know we have some tech entrepreneurs probably on in our community who would definitely take advantage of that. And then the third phase, which I'm so excited about, I'm so excited. I feel like I've said that about everything, but I'm absolutely excited about this. It is, we purchased a theater that was connected to, again, that block, the corridor. So it sits right next door to Madison Furniture Store. And it was an old theater. It opened in 1916 and was kind of upgraded in the 1930s, 1940s, I believe. And of course, upgraded back then doesn't mean upgrade present day. But we were wanting to convert this old theater, movie theater, into a performing arts and visual arts center. And not just that, not just a community theater, but also it'll house a pre-K program specific to performing, and visual arts. We know that arts is one of the most underfunded educational pathways in our public school system. So again, we don't want a pre-K program specific to visual and performing arts, as well as after school programming specific to the arts. All right, so I am going to, as time is kind of winding down here, I'm going to breeze through some of these. But again, if you have questions, though I can't see the chat now, Markel at the end will help me navigate the questions. So I'm kind of breeze through some of these next few slides. So again, I told you that we opened 1908 Innovation and Co-working Center. It operates, and it's not exclusive to the operations of this space, but it operates business innovation services, incubation services, and acceleration services for minority business owners. And we also operate co-working space. Again, we want to address a lot of the challenges that exist for minority businesses and those who are impacted socially. And again, we identified the fact that there were minimal services for under-resourced Springfield that were located on this side of town, right? So oftentimes entrepreneurs, those who were seeking services had to travel elsewhere for the services that they need. So we want to centralize those services under one roof. We want to leverage existing assets that we already had, and again, locate them on site and make them more accessible to individuals. And then we wanted everyone to take advantage of the services. If you were under-resourced in general, regardless of whether you were Black and brown, a woman-owned, veteran, justice involved, or justice impacted business owner, entrepreneur, or at-risk youth, we wanted to, anyone who was historically faced any disparities or challenges, we wanted to address those challenges in a comprehensive way by meeting individuals where they are, trauma-informed, meeting people where they are, identifying where they wanted to go, and then walking alongside them. Again, whether it was access to capital or other business resources, or just overall workforce development opportunities, we wanted to identify whatever needs there were and then address them. And again, I mentioned our Junior Biz Academy. This is another picture of one of the activities that that the youth who participate in our Junior Biz Academy were able to participate in. We also, again, mentioned our BSI, our Business Success Institute. We worked with justice impacted individuals, entrepreneurs, and then overall, some of the partnerships included small business development programs in partnership with the Small Business Development Center, having a satellite office. We actually had the library, the Lincoln Library, which is the oldest library here in town, participate as well by hosting pop-up. We've had the HUD and IDA do their Central Illinois Housing Development Summit. We've hosted O3 department with the Sabo Trade Summit group. And again, that Cap Forward Career and College Readiness Program. And this is not an extensive list of all the programs we've been able to deliver to the community, but it's a short list. Just telling you briefly about our Junior Biz Academy. We focus on empowering youth to introduce them to industry leaders and entrepreneurs. That way they can build success and confidence in delivering whatever ideas they have around entrepreneurship to community. And this focused on middle school and high school students and age appropriate and relevant business development opportunities. And we work with Venture Lab to do this. They designed the curriculum specific to the Springfield project. I mentioned various programs through for justice involved individuals and entrepreneurs and just adults in general. And we're fortunate enough to introduce this program through an opportunity to be funded from the R3 program under ICEJA. And just a little nod to ICEJA and a thumbs up. I do know that their RFP is open and closes in early March. That's a huge opportunity for you all to take advantage of. is really a capacity building opportunity, and we are fortunate enough to receive that at just the right time to deliver community programming. Phase two, I mentioned culinary incubator. We'll have other startup services. It's an extension of our current model, which is providing that social innovation opportunities for entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, and then really tapping into a culinary entrepreneur space and those who don't necessarily have opportunities to scale their culinary or tech businesses. And again, this will be a fully licensed commercial space for culinary entrepreneurs, food production. There'll be a lot of opportunities for you to receive various services and various certifications within the food space. And so this is very much so something that's needed in the community. We heard directly from those cottage kitchen entrepreneurs and other entrepreneurs in the culinary space about the need for this. And again, all roads point to that Madison Collective and delivering the shared kitchen culinary incubation services to our community. Performing Arts Center, I highlighted again. I can't say enough how excited I am about this. This is our third phase, and again, we want to celebrate arts and culture here in Springfield by elevating what we're doing. We were fortunate enough to receive a cultural district designation, and so this is kind of like the perfect storm. That phase three of delivering this Performing Arts Center would kind of coincide with the cultural district designation, and that's through the DCO, and we're one of 15 cultural districts identified and earmarked for the state of Illinois. So we're increasingly excited about the opportunity to deliver culture to our community in this side of town. Again, here a little illustration. I'm a big visual person here, so again, this ecosystem, culture meets community, and then obviously vehicles for doing that. And then as we close here, kind of giving an overview of some of the other programs and services that we have. We capital development. So we've been fortunate enough to receive capital development for to complete fully phase one, build more offices in phase one. There's been a huge demand for affordable office space for entrepreneurs, not just minority entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs in general post-COVID. So we're building 9 more offices on site with some suite offices or suite offices that will include those who are looking to open hair shops or nail salons, etc. So we'll have some build to suite offices or build to suit. Also, again, that culinary incubator, we're fortunate enough to kind of leverage our relationships and partners. So one of the partnerships that I'm increasingly excited about, which is relatively new, but we've been working on this for quite some time. It's a partnership with SIU, Southern Illinois University, specifically the system office, but specifically the Office of Community Engagement has come to the table and been a great resource for us to not only capacity build for us, but also develop and partnership programming that fits the needs of the populations that we're serving here. And so we've been fortunate enough to have them at the table to help develop some of our programming. I mentioned briefly about the community microlending program. We have been in talks with the largest community bank here in Springfield, Bank of Springfield, about jointly rolling out a microlending program. And we've been fortunate enough to elevate that conversation and receive substantial funding for that. And we've laid out the infrastructure for that. So we're hoping to take that to the next level this year by the end of the year and really scale that microlending program and deliver it in a more comprehensive way. Excuse me. And the power of understanding and knowing who you're serving is everything. We've been able to ensure that we have fixed rates for that micro lending program, very low interest rates, very low fixed interest rates for that at 1% and 3%. So I mean, which is huge for a community-based organization based on who we're serving. And everything that we've done to date has been in a trauma from a trauma informed lens. One of the things that we focus on a quarterly basis is actually providing trauma informed training to our community. We have seen a absolute uptick in community organizations and businesses taking advantage of that trauma informed training that we host. In addition to a monthly professional development training that has various topics discussed free of charge to the community every single month. And we also have a network of consultants that we've been able to work with, including our urban planner who has been instrumental in helping us develop long term a lot of the plans that we've been able to carry out. Her name is Michelle Ditz with Urban Focus Planning, and she's been huge. And then also I mentioned Change Bridge Consulting with Becky Gavney earlier, and a few others who have been instrumental in helping us deliver. And through again that delivery of services, we've been able to really scale a lot of our programming just double down on what we can offer to the community: health and wellness workshops, home ownership workshops, and then other year-round financial literacy toolkits and workshops. So I've gone a little long, so I definitely want to open it up for questions here. And so I'm going to give you all my contact information. That way we could pivot to questions.
Thank you so much, Dominic, for this impactful presentation. And thank you for your leadership and commitment to the advancement of the Black community in Springfield. Attendees, as stated at this time, we will dive into a 10-minute Q&A session. Please feel free to either post your questions and comments in the chat, or please feel free to come off mute at this time. We do have some in the chat that are thanking you for your work and thanking you for the PowerPoint and the presentation, and giving you congratulations for the work that you are doing in Springfield Project.
Thank you.
There's two questions from one attendee. One says, how does a community in the state capital with such rich history be under-resourced for so long? And your second question to that same attendee is a personal question, and due to us being recorded, we will not be able to answer that question over this. So please feel free to reach out to me. But if you would, Dominic, just touch on how do your community, being located in the state capital, how have you worked through being under resourced for so long?
Yeah, so I think as with any community that has been historically disinvested in over time, I think that simply put, I think oftentimes we feel like we know what's best for communities that are underserved, but we don't bring them to the table when it comes to planning. And so I think just naturally, I think there wasn't a shortage of opportunities to plan. I think the planning was didn't yield the results that they intended to yield because the community wasn't at the table. And I think from our vantage point, just because you bring one or two members to the table doesn't mean it's inclusive of the community. And so I think that was the larger problem there. Without diving into too much of the historic disinvestment and opportunities we missed.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. We have other comments in the chat just thanking you for the informative information. Um, I do want to bring up a point for some of the small businesses here, if you could touch on, Dominic. As you mentioned in the earlier presentation, you oversee and manage three different entities. Kind of talk us through those nuances of managing that, as well as managing the different entities and type of entities that each of those organizations are in the service that they provide.
Yeah, so I think most importantly, I'm not doing it alone. I have a great staff led by Ms. Rosalind Bond, who's our innovation coordinator, who has worked alongside me for since we opened our doors. She has worked in probably every area of economic development and workforce development. In during her 40 plus years of commitment to community here in Springfield. We also have, again, I mentioned the consultants that we have at the table, community partners, and we're not doing it alone. We also have governmental stakeholders and State Senator Doris Turner, who's instrumental in helping and holding us accountable to the work that we're doing, and our local alderman and Ward 2 Alderman Sean Gregory, and and just city government and county government. So it's been a lift, right? We've had to ensure that we are doing everything above board, and I can't stress that enough. Above board in understanding what are the requirements, how do we ensure that we structure our organizations in the right way, how do we keep up with the requirements of navigating a lot of the opportunities that we have, and in order to be ready, you have to what? Stay ready, right? So we've been able to do the work. We've been able to be in the right rooms, in a part of the right conversations on the right side of history. And one of the most important things that we live by, again, is doing right by the community, right? We don't subscribe to a lot of the challenges or the pressures of various federal or statewide mandates for specific to the industries that we're a part of, but we are again accountable to our community, so we allow our community to hold us accountable and guide us where we need to go, but also understanding who we are in doing that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Last question, Dominic. You talked about collaboration and working together collaboratively with other entities. What other lessons or tactics have you learned that you believe could be scaled or replicated in other Illinois communities to drive sustainable impact for Black residents and Black communities?
I'll simplify this. I think that the community always has to be at the table, and you constantly always have to understand that the needs of the community may change. You may develop a program based off of what you heard from the community 3 months ago. And then when you roll out that program, you may realize that the community no longer needs that. And you have to be flexible enough and not take that to heart, the fact that you've developed and put all this sweat equity into developing this program that now the community is saying they don't need, right? So being very flexible, having the community at the table, and constantly, I can't stress this enough, listening to community and assessing the needs of the community. Everyone who walks through our doors, we do a mini needs assessment, whether it's verbal or whether it's actually on paper. We assess the needs of every person who walks through the doors, regardless of who it is.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Dominic, for your time and for your commitment. Thank you all attendees for attending today's webinar for our Black History Regional Tour, Stop 2. Again, Dominic did share his contact information. If anyone would like to contact him, please feel free to do so. Again, thank you all for joining, and happy Black History Month. And until next time, see you all in Metro East.
So yeah.